Hello, welcome to Cody and Joey Reviews. I am Cody.
And I'm Joey.
And today we are talking about Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Now, we should start off with our familiarity with the series. I don't have too much of a connection to the series. I've only honestly seen, well, 3 of the movies at this point, but 2 previous. That was Mission Impossible 2, which was long back, middle school is when I first saw that. And of course, I've seen the one previous to this, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which we both saw midnight premiere in the IMAX.
So that was pretty cool.
So far as I know, I'm not a huge spy movie fan. You know, James Bond, Jason Bourne. Haven't seen a whole lot of those movies, but Mission Impossible is one that I kind of go back to. It's a very interesting series, but not really one for me. How about you?
So I'm a big Mission Impossible fan. I've seen all the films. I was too young, of course, for the first one that came out in '96. I mean, to remember anything. And I'm just a fan of the spy genre in general. I really enjoy the James Bond movies. I mean, sometimes I'll drag him to watch them with me.
Definitely. You got me to see Goldfinger for the first time.
Yes, that is true. And in this case, we saw Ghost Protocol together, and I mean, before this one, I would say that Ghost Protocol is my favorite movie, and after watching it, I would still say that it's the best Mission Impossible, but I honestly want to say that this comes in a close second.
Yeah, definitely. Ghost Protocol, what I really liked about that movie was you could have gone in blind, not seeing all the other Mission Impossible movies, and still kind of keep up. There are a few references to all the other ones that sort of, I guess, people who haven't seen the series up to that point wouldn't understand, but definitely this one has that certain feel. It does pick up right where Ghost Protocol does leave off, but certainly the mission itself doesn't really have any ties to the previous entries of the film series, and definitely they talked about that. They wanted it to be sort of like the Mission Impossible TV series that came before it. Each movie is sort of a different chapter following a different story. Usually a different team. The team in this one's pretty much the same. Simon Pegg is back. And we have Ving Rhames as well doing, what it is they do. But definitely you can pretty much go into this movie not really having seen all the other ones and still pretty much have a good time. I think this is a pretty decent action film. I'm still kind of hazy on a lot of the plots. Sort of what the villain wants in this movie, but definitely the action in this movie is pretty top-notch.
Yeah, and I think what makes the Mission Impossible series so fun is that each movie has a different director. So the first one, it was Brian De Palma who directed Scarface. Mission Impossible 2 was John Woo. Mission Impossible 3 was J.J. Abrams. And Mission Impossible 4 was Brad Bird. And now we have Christopher McQuarrie, I believe. And he also directed Jack Reacher, so I mean, I think he's familiar with directing Tom Cruise. And what I did like about this movie was that you had a plot that was fun, that you could follow, and there were some twists here and there, and the action sequences were really cool. I mean, they were really creative, they were fun. The movie just had a lot of fun, and that's what I was looking for a summer blockbuster, just to sit back on a hot summer day and enjoy a movie, and this definitely delivered.
Yeah, definitely. It is actually very fun. The creativeness, I do admit that opening. I think anyone who's ever seen a trailer will know the opening with the plane coming in. I mean, that's our clip at the beginning of the show. It's very well done. I'm still having a hard time trying to understand what it has to do with the rest of the plot. But definitely the action throughout this movie is really good, and your liking of this movie definitely hinders on whether or not you like the action or these characters. I mean, let's talk Tom Cruise. I don't think this is his best movie. It's certainly in the middle road with a lot of his other sort of more serious dramas or something like that from the early 90s to early 2000s sort of thing. But definitely he gets through this movie with his charm. But honestly, I was more focused with the supporting characters, especially Simon Pegg. I always enjoy seeing Simon Pegg in anything, and definitely he does a great job here. And Ving Rhames, of course, he's a badass. I always like seeing him, so he brings a lot of character into that. Even though I don't really think Tom Cruise is doing his A game here, I thought he did that in the last movie. Certainly he has a supporting cast that gets him through the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think for what he may have lacked in terms of acting, I mean, he definitely delivered with the action. I mean, he actually hung off a real plane, just like he actually climbed the Burj Khalifa in Mission Impossible 4. So, I mean, he's really dedicated to the role, and he delivers on the big screen. And you also have a really colorful cast of characters. You have Simon Pegg, who kind of provides the comedic relief. You have Ving Rhames, who's just awesome, I think, as you mentioned.
Definitely.
You have Jeremy Renner. He kind of plays like a smaller role in this one, I feel, than like the last one. I mean, in like Ghost Protocol, he played like a pivotal part in the plot, and like I won't spoil that if you haven't seen that movie. And yeah, and like Rebecca Ferguson also like holds her own against Tom Cruise, and I thought she was a really cool character. She kind of reminded me of like Selena Kyle's Catwoman. From the Dark Knight Rises. She was kind of like the anti-hero, you know. She wasn't like perfect morally, but I mean, her and Tom Cruise, I felt, had really good chemistry together.
Definitely, especially with those moments where she's flipping around. I did get a Catwoman vibe. You mentioned Jeremy Renner. Yeah, he does really have quite a minor role in this movie. I mean, I completely forgot about him when I was going over through the team. But definitely, he's doing a pretty good job. He has a lot of good lines. Certainly, you know, he has his Hawkeye sort of charm to him in this movie. But on the opposite hand, the villain of this movie, I don't think stands up to Tom Cruise very well. I have a hard time figuring out what it is exactly he wants and what he wants to do with what he gets. What do you think about the villain?
Well, I think with the villain, you're right. I mean, his motives were sort of questionable in that way. I mean, yeah, like he was looking to have all the access to those bank accounts, but that whole plan with like the syndicate, which is like the anti-IMF that they say in this movie, I mean, basically like had a lot of people in charge. There were like multiple heads of like intelligent departments that were involved. So I felt like the villain didn't have really much motives, I think, as you mentioned. However, like one of the opening, I mean, after the opening sequence of the movie, there's something that he does that really makes me hate him. And as long as I can hate a villain, then, I mean, he works for me. But you're right. I mean, definitely not like one of the greatest villains of all time by any means.
Yeah, but he was definitely better than the last villain in the last movie, where basically he was just a crazy guy who wanted to destroy the world. At least here, they give him some motive. He wants money, and I guess he's working for his government to bring change or to keep things the same. I wasn't quite sure. He has a better motive, but honestly, I don't think he's a better villain. The actor does a pretty good job with what he's given. Sometimes he just seems uninterested in being there, but definitely not a very bad villain for this series.
Yeah, and if I was to rank this, I mean, with like all the movies, yeah, like I'd say Ghost Protocol is the best, and then this one would come in a close second. And if I was to give the film a rating, I would give it a 4.75 out of 5. I think that this is the best summer blockbuster like that we've had so far in 2015. And I definitely recommend that you go and watch it. I think you'll have a lot of fun with the movie.
Yeah, my thoughts on the movie aren't really as high as yours. Honestly, I do think Ghost Protocol is still the best. This comes in a close second for me, only because I haven't really seen the series beforehand. But if I were to rate it, I think I've seen better summer action movies. I did like Mad Max Fury Road a whole lot more. But I'm going to give this movie 3.5 out of 5 stars. I definitely had a lot of fun with this movie. The action was good and the acting was. I was just having a hard time with the plot, trying to really figure it out. Maybe on multiple viewings, really paying more attention to it, I will understand the movie a lot better and maybe enjoy it as much as you do. But having just seen the movie and giving my thoughts right now, definitely 3.5 out of 5 stars, but definitely worth the watch. I would recommend it to almost anyone.
Yeah, I mean, better than the Gals.
Oh, definitely. Well, when you set the bar that low, you can't help but step over it.
Yeah.
All right, well, tune in with us next time. We got some more movies coming up.
And yeah, thank you for joining Cody Enjoy Reviews.
All right, and stay tuned.